afternoon. This is Ezekiel Ojo, Moment of Empowerment. Today, by the grace of God, we are going to look at a unique topic titled, Caught in the Web, the Dilemma of Immigrant David. Caught in the Web, the Dilemma of Immigrant David. Sometimes we find ourselves in places that are far from our places of birth for different reasons. Some for better economic opportunities, some because of persecution or victimization in the place of birth, and others for mere adventure. For whatsoever reason it is, many immigrants are ill-prepared for the shocks that living in a completely new environment might throw at them. The Bible is filled with stories of such people. In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 26, 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 26, the Bible says, "For the earth is the Lord and his fullness thereof." So people moving from one location to the other can be referred to as immigration. The truth is this: the Lord sees the whole earth as a global constituency. So an immigrant is defined by the dictionary as a person who willingly comes to a country to take up permanent residence. There are different kinds of immigrants. The first category is immigrants by choice. Example is the prodigal son. He was comfortable in the father's house. He went to meet the father and he said, "Dad, give me my portion of inheritance." And he moved to another country. The Bible says he joined himself with citizens of another country. The second group of immigrants are the people we call immigrants by circumstances. Joseph loved to be with Jacob the father, but he was sold into slavery and he found himself in Potiphar's house. And before you know it, destiny located him in the palace. That is an immigrant by circumstance. Then another group, which is the last one, is what I call immigrants by divine instruction. Abraham was commanded by God, "Get thee out of thy father's land and thy kindred, to a land that I will show you." God moved him. So he's an immigrant by divine instruction. So today we are going to look at a peculiar immigrant in the Bible, and that is David. The story of David and his immigration experience can be found in 3 chapters of 1 Samuel, 27, 28, and 29. 3 whole chapters. In 1 Samuel chapter 27, from verse 1 to 7, 1 Samuel chapter 27 from verse 1 to 7, the Bible says, "And David said in his heart, I shall now perish one day by the hand of Saul. There is nothing better for me than that I should speedily escape into the land of the Philistines." Don't forget, David killed the giant of the Philistines. So David was going to be an immigrant into the land of the enemies. "And Saul shall despair of me to seek me anymore in any coast of Israel. So shall I escape out of his hand." David decided to escape out of his land because of persecution. The king wanted him dead at all costs. "And David arose, and he passed over with the 600 men that were with him unto Achish, the son of Machir, the king of Gath. And David dwelt with Achish at Gath, he and his men, every man with his household, even David with his 2 wives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail the Carmelitess, Nabal's wife. And it was told Saul that David was fled to Gath, and he sought no more again for him. And David said to Achish the king, if I have now found grace in thy eyes, let them give me a place in some town in the country, that I may dwell there. For why should thy servant dwell in the royal city with thee? Then Achish gave him Ziklag that day. Wherefore Ziklag pertaineth unto the kings of Judah unto this day. And the time that David dwelt in the country of the Philistines was a full year and 4 months. So he was an immigrant for 16 months in Gath, in the city of Ziklag. David ran away from his own country to seek abode with his nation's enemies. While David was in Ziklag, he submitted absolutely to the authority of the king, of King Achish. He fought battles for him. He recorded victories for him. In 1 Samuel chapter 28 from verse 1 to 2, 1 Samuel chapter 28 from verse 1 to 2, David faced a dilemma. It was time for Achish to wage war against Israel, a nation where David had already been anointed king by God. What a dilemma. And this is a dilemma that many immigrants face all over the world, even in our days. A decision that you will have to take. Whether you like it or not, you must take a decision. He had to fight his own people as an immigrant in a strange land. In 1 Samuel 28, 1 to 2, the Bible says, and it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare to fight with Israel. And Achish said unto David, know thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, thou and thy men. And David said to Achish, surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, therefore will I make thee keeper of my head forever, to fight against his own people. What do you do when you are torn between two parallel options? How can David fight against his own people, over whom one day is going to be king? And how can he say no to a king that has been kind to him? A king that provided an escape route for him from King Saul. The truth is that many times in life, we are faced with such delicate and difficult decisions. But we have to trust God for a way of escape. We have to trust God for wisdom in the midst of a dilemma. For David, that way of escape came in 1 Samuel chapter 29. From verse 2 to 4, the Bible says, and the lords of the Philistines passed on by hundreds and by thousands. But David and his men passed on in the reward with Achish. Then said the princes of the Philistines, what do these Hebrews hear? And Achish said unto the princes of Philistines, is not this David, the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which has been with me these days or these years? And I have found no fault in him, since he fell unto me unto this day. And the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him. And the princes of the Philistines said unto him, make this fellow return, that he may go again to his place, which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go down with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should he not be with the heads of these men? The Lord helped David. He made a way of escape for David through the lords of the Philistines. As an immigrant, he was torn between waging war against his people and staying loyal to a kind country, a country that made a way for him, a country that gave him a way of escape. Many individuals all over the world are torn between that. But when that time comes, the same God that made the way of escape for David will make a way of escape for you. Till I come your way, same time next week on Moment of Empowerment, I remain Ezekiel Ojo. God bless you.